I've always found lakes calming. Something about the way the water reflects the sky, the stillness of the surface. It clears my head. That's why I fish almost every weekend, searching for quiet places where no one goes. Last spring, I heard about a small lake in upstate New York. A friend mentioned it in passing, saying he'd been there once and never saw another person the entire day. That sounded perfect to me. I packed my gear and drove out early one morning. The trail to the water was rough, just a narrow dirt road cutting through the woods. The deeper I went, the more the trees pressed in, their branches arching overhead like a tunnel. When I finally reached the lake, it was hidden, secluded, untouched. The water was still, almost too still, with a faint mist hovering across the surface. I sat up on the shore, pushing my boots into the soft mud, and cast my line. The only sounds were insects buzzing and the occasional ripple of water. For a while, everything was peaceful. I even started to drift into that meditative state fishing always gives me. That was until my line snagged. At first, I thought it was just a log or some weeds, but when I pulled, it felt different. There was weight, resistance, not the kind a fish gives. My rod bent hard, and the line tightened like it was caught on something solid. I tugged and reeled, sweat breaking across my forehead, until slowly, something began to surface. At first, I thought it was just a piece of debris, a black shape, rising out of the water, heavy and slick with algae. But as it broke the surface, I froze. It was a handgun, tangled in weeds, the barrel glistening with lake water. I stared, unable to process it. My line had hooked straight through the trigger guard, hauling it up from the depths. The gun looked old, rusted in parts, but still intact. I didn't even want to touch it, but curiosity got the better of me. I pulled it to shore and set it on the mud. The moment it hit the ground, something about the forest changed. The buzzing of the insects stopped. The air grew heavier. I suddenly felt exposed, like a spotlight was on me. That's when I heard movement. Across the lake, through the mist, something shifted. Branches cracked, water lapped against the shore, and I saw the faint outline of a man standing just beyond the fog. He wasn't fishing. He wasn't hiking. He was just watching. I tried to call out, but my throat went dry. The figure didn't move. He just stood there, still as a shadow, his face lost in the haze. I told myself it was another fisherman, someone curious about what I was doing. But deep down, I knew better. Slowly, I picked up the gun again. The weight of it in my hand made me sick, but I didn't want to leave it on the ground. I wrapped it in a rag from my tackle box and shoved it into my bag. When I looked back across the water, the figure was gone. The fog shifted, and the shoreline was empty, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he hadn't disappeared. He had moved, somewhere closer. I gathered my gear as fast as I could, my hands clumsy, heart racing. Every few seconds, I heard faint splashes behind me, like footsteps wading through the shallows. I didn't dare turn around. The trail back to my car felt endless. The fog seemed thicker than before, wrapping around the trees, distorting every sound. More than once, I thought I heard someone walking just behind me, perfectly matching my pace. When I stopped, the sound stopped too. By the time I reached my car, I was drenched in sweat, my fingers trembling as I fumbled with the keys. I tossed my gear into the back seat, slammed the door, and started the engine. As I pulled away, I finally dared to look into the rearview mirror. Through the drifting fog, I saw him, a man standing at the tree line, tall and unmoving, staring after me. He didn't chase, didn't wave, didn't speak, just watched as I drove away, the gun still heavy in my bag. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the weapon, about why it was there, about who might have put it in that lake. I wanted to call the police, but something in me hesitated. What if they thought it was mine? What if it was connected to something terrible? As the hours crawled past, I sat in the dark, bag still beside me on the floor. That's when I heard it. A splash, not outside, not in a lake, but inside my house, clear as day. The sound of water dripping, followed by a hollow thud. I froze, staring at the bag, and then, from inside it, muffled but unmistakable, came the sound of a wet, rasping breath.